Hey everyone, it's Saeed with Messy Growth. Today's guest is a true growth powerhouse. I'm thrilled to announce and welcome Agata Krzysztofik, a veteran growth marketer and a team leader with more than 10 years of experience across Google, Piktochart, SimScale, Demodesk, and several very high growth startups. At Google, Agata, she spent nearly 7 years shaping community strategy and scaling global platforms. In later roles, she rebuilt marketing organizations, launched major campaigns, doubled sales performance, and drove radical improvements in conversion, something I want to dig deeper into. Along with conversion, she helped with retention, paid acquisition. She's also a longtime member and a mentor to CEOs and marketing leaders, and a founder of Growth 52, a pretty cool organization we're going to talk about, where she now helps subscription businesses scale profitably with Google Ads. Agata brings a rare mix of strategic clarity and hands-on execution and people-centered leadership. Agata, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me here. And such a nice intro.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
My PR person.
There you go. I'm trying to give everybody elevator pitches. So our mutual friend, Mick, when he told me I got to speak to you, I started to go through your profile. It was fantastic. And I have so much material I want to dig deeper into. But I guess I have a question that I assume a lot of people ask you. You spent 6+ years, almost 7 at Google on the ads team, and then became VP growth at multiple different startups. And now you run your own agency. That's 3 different worlds. What was the biggest shock going from Google to startups?
I think like on the surface, actually the biggest shock was like not using Google tools because, I know it's a funny one. I'll give you a more serious example in a second. But it was a shock as well for me because I realized that, from the beginning of my career, like I was there at the beginning of my career for 6 years, you actually take it for granted, right? That like
Yes.
everything like works smoothly. You can use Gmail, like you can use calendar and so on. But then I went to a company that was like, a bit more, it was a startup, but it was more traditional. So they were using completely different tools. And it took me off guard because I needed so much more time for everything. So that was one thing. And then obviously like a bit more serious one is this, that I realized, wow, actually like my work can have such a direct impact as well when I went to a startup, because whatever you do at a startup, you immediately see an impact of it, right? So you actually, if you do something wrong, it can have a direct impact on the customers as well. And you take a full responsibility of it. And at Google, it's a big company, right? So obviously you are responsible for like what your part as well. We do some additional projects as well, obviously, but it's, if you do something wrong, like there is like all these other people in there as well, they can like fix it, or it's not very visible as well. And startup, you really take the responsibility. So it's a different level of responsibility for sure.
100%. But I'm guessing there is a shock as well. I've gone from very small startups to scale ups. And that was just like 30 people going into 200. It just seems like, well, there's everybody, some people are joining, people are leaving. It's too much. So I think the chaos the other way around must be really, really interesting. So you help clients achieve a solid ROAS and a healthy LTV to CAC ratio within 2 months. That's extremely fast. I want to talk about that. What are you doing differently that lets you move that quickly?
It's more like 90 days, I would say.
That's still very fast.
Still fast. It is true that it is fast. But it does feel fast, although actually like I follow a very disciplined process as well. So the biggest difference maybe like between this, what I do, and regular agency that does, is that I don't start with the channel itself. I start with the data, intent, and the revenue model as well. And in the first few weeks, I focus on an audit, and it's like a very deep audit. And I look at 3 things. So first of all, like, true conversions and true conversion economics. So it's not just like what is the cost per lead, like, or how many MQLs we have, but like really historical data in terms of like lead to pipeline, and then from pipeline to deal conversion rates. And then also like, what is the sales cycle length? What is the average contract value? And so I really want to understand the business itself as well, and how it has been operating. And I look at the data, historical data, like, what has been working with Google Ads and what hasn't. What is very helpful, like that's also kind of like one of requirements for clients, is that if, let's say, you use HubSpot, it's very easy to get this data as well, because you can connect HubSpot directly to Google Ads. And then you can dig down from the keywords itself, for example, analyze which keywords drove the most closed deals, like
Oh,
won
fair enough.
deals.
Fair enough.
So, it's very deep insights as well that you can get because you go to the CRM directly. So it's not just on the surface level. Because obviously, you can have dashboards. I also build my dashboard for the client. Always I use Looker Studio, but it's still a bit more on the surface because we don't send obviously all the data to Google Ads, right? So I'll be able to see what is the maybe cost per lead or MQL, some additional data, which days work the best or which landing pages work the best. But I'm more interested in this actual revenue related data. And that's what I do at the beginning. And the audit is very detailed, also going through the settings. So the second things that I look at is the full funnel leakage. So I want to see where the friction is, right? So basically, are there any search intent gaps? Maybe there is a landing page mismatch, or there's some misalignment in terms of a bid strategy, or broken conversion tracking. And that's often actually the case, that the conversion tracking is not set up properly. Or for example, the company focuses more on the top of the funnel conversions. And I'm interested in the bottom of the funnel conversions as well, right? Because I want to actually train the algorithm to get us more this valuable conversions, so quality conversions that can be turned into deals as well. So that's second thing. And the third one is basically the company's mode, competition, and messaging. Just basically really trying to understand the customers. So I always send my clients a brief, right? So I want to understand who are your competitors? What are your USPs? What makes you stand out as well? What has worked in the past? And so really deep understanding of their company. And also often ask them, can you maybe connect me with a salesperson or give me some insights to what are people saying on the calls? If let's say you win a deal, what are the main reasons? What are the main features that actually make people buy from you? So when I understand this, it will help me later on as well with the messaging, because then I can put it in the ad copy as well, focus on this specificity. And then it's easier to optimize. And once I have all this data, all the information, I have a true understanding of the business, I usually already know after the audit, what to kill, what I can fix, and what I'll be scaling moving forward. And then I just execute it in the fast loops. So I first fix tracking. So, the data becomes basically trustworthy. Then I also consolidate the campaigns. Often in the account, I see that people have so many different campaigns that the budget is very diluted as well. So I try to consolidate them and see what makes sense to be together rather than separated. And then also tightening the creative and the landing page narrative, and basically matching the landing page to the keywords as well, to ensure that there is a proper experience that users get when they search for something that is actually matching the landing page that they see, so we can improve the conversion rate. So it's not just the ads, but it's also advising them how can we get better at conversion rates as well? How can we improve the funnel? Maybe there's something broken in the funnel.
Yeah. This is a lot. So you're pretty much doing the whole grow to market engine for a lot of the companies. And I got to just so we double click on this. What is Growth 52 and who is it for? If you were to kind of just go and tell it, it's for this type of person, this is my ICP. Who is it for and who can benefit from your organization?
Yeah, it's good you are asking, because I don't focus on all the type of companies. I focus specifically on subscription businesses, and that's subscription businesses that are B2C or B2B, and primarily subscription businesses in B2B to SaaS as well. And the reason is also my background, because all the startups that I have been working for were SaaS companies, or if they were B2B, it was also subscription. And second reason is also because when I was on the other end, the person that was hiring agencies as well, I always had the same issue as well, that usually at the beginning I would speak with the agency, everything sounded perfect. There was the senior person talking to me. And then later on, when we signed the contract, we were getting a junior person to work on our account as well.
Yeah.
And for a startup, for every single dollar that you spend, you need to actually justify it. So you need to be able to explain it with data, right? And that was often a problem that the agency didn't understand. They were saying yeah, but it's working, you are getting leads. But then I would say, yeah, but the leads are of bad quality. I cannot convert these leads into deals. I'm not generating any revenue. And it was kind of they were saying that's not our responsibility. And that's how actually this idea of Growth 52 came to life, because I was hey, actually, I used to work on the Google Ads team. And at the same time, I was on the other side where I had to hire agencies. I understand what people are actually looking for. And I wanted to specifically focus on B2B and this subscription B2C, because I saw that there is a bigger gap actually there. So there are really good agencies for e-commerce, and it's a bit easier to do Google Ads as well for e-commerce, right? Google Ads works quite well, but often who struggles the most is B2B SaaS, because of the sales cycles as well, right? You cannot immediately give the data to Google. There's not immediate feedback that the algorithm is getting, because often sales cycles are 90 days long or something. So you need to figure it out how to do it differently, and actually what makes it work. And often even the advice that Google gives, you always get this account manager. They always give you the scripted advice.
Yeah.
And they launch demand gen, launch PMAX campaign, and so on. Yeah, but often these campaigns don't work for B2B SaaS, right? You need to really optimize them and watch out so you're not going to get spam leads.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy to run ads for these businesses. I chose kind of the more difficult ones, but I knew that actually there is a biggest need there.
Yeah. But I think you're boiling away through the noise, which is, you're putting money where your mouth is. So it's not about like you said, if you're working with agencies, quite often they're wait, we got you leads. Now it's your job to close them. Whereas you're saying that I'm responsible for the quality of leads, which is fantastic. And on that topic, Agata, what do you think and what do you say to founders and a lot of the CEOs that say, well, we don't need people like that in agencies anymore because we have got LLMs that are so good that if you just throw data at them, they're going to spit back all of the feedback and information and build a game plan and everything. Why would we pay X amount of dollars for an external agency or external consultant to come in and help us when we have access to all these tools?
Yeah, and the tools are definitely helping, right? I'm not going to say that.
Of course, yeah.
I'm also using LLM.
We are.
Using that. I think everyone is. The problem is that they are not good enough yet, right? And they also cover some specific areas. So Google even integrated AI inside of Google Ads. So they suggest you copies. Let's say you're going to put your landing page and it will suggest you the copy. They also have AI Max functionality, which is a bit newer, where they would also say that, they will automatically find the best landing page and the best copy. But it's actually not working that well. I had a lot of clients that tried it, and we had some really strange headlines that were really not on brand as well. So most of my clients are I don't want to use this AI Max. Please don't use it. So you still need to do your due diligence, understand the competition. And also the problem is that you're not going to give your data, basically customer data. There's sensitive data to an LLM, and
people do that.
Yeah, I know that's true, but
it's so crazy.
In Europe, the companies they should not do that, probably, right? I hope they're not. But that's the thing, right? That not everything can be done there, and then also some of the things which you need to set up, in terms of the setup and how you're strategically planning it. Yeah, Google will suggest you a lot of things. And I even I tried to use it myself, basically get suggestions from the strategy. But it's kind of the same as what I was saying with the agency, right? That a lot of suggestions, really good for e-commerce.
Yeah.
But then I would get a list of strategic suggestions. And from the whole list, there is none that I could apply, because I basically from experience know it's not working. Or that, this suggestion doesn't make any sense for SaaS as well. So even if you tell it that, it is for SaaS business, kind of uses the data that it finds as well online, right? It's trained on
or
this what
data
there.
that exists. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not it's not there yet. I'm not saying that maybe one day it will be like it's possible, right?
Yeah.
But still need someone who is going to execute it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could set up some workflows probably, but yeah, not there yet.
Not there yet. It's
Yeah,
interesting. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. The problem with AI is that it doesn't have a feature that says, I don't know the answer. It has to find an answer for the prompt
yeah,
that you're going to put in. The only problem is that it hallucinates quite a lot. And let's say
yeah,
if you're a B2B SaaS company doing 3, 4, 5, $10 million in recurring revenue, if it hallucinates on I don't know, a campaign that's going to cost you 10 grand, that's a pretty bad place to hallucinate. So might as
yeah,
well just go with an expert. You know, it's like a story that I told the other day, which is like, uh, it's not about like the knocking of the hammer. It's about where to knock. That's an experience that you can only learn over years and years of mastering your craft. And AI is just not there yet. So it's not a risk worth taking for the
yeah,
most part.
yeah. I even, actually my husband works at Google, so on the AI
Oh, you guys
tools
just switched places.
places. And I was also telling you, like, what do you think? Like, like maybe soon I'll be replaced by AI. And he's like, still not
Yeah.
long. It's like, still gonna take time. So, if someone who like
Unfortunately,
knows this, it tells me this, for me, it's good.
no, companies still need customers, and AI is now going to buy products. So I'm pretty sure we're going to come full circle.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your experience. So you've been a VP growth at 3 companies, more than that actually. Piktochart, Demodesk, SimScale. What's the difference between being a marketer and being a VP growth? Because it's not just senior marketer, right? That's an entirely different title.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually had to jump into this, VP growth from the beginning when I joined the startup work, because my last role at Google was also like, I was a marketing leader. And so when I moved to startups, I became like head of marketing as well. But the difference was also like in many startups, especially if you are building a startups from ground up, you are both, right? Like you are a senior leader, but at the same time, you are a marketer yourself because you
Of
are
course.
very hands-on. It depends on the size of the startup, but if the startup is still small and you are like building from a team from ground up, you have to be very much involved in every area. What I think is like definitely like both are needed, right? So I do think that's what made me a good marketing leader was the fact that I was working for a long time, like being a marketer
Of
and
course.
doing all different areas, right? So I had to do email marketing, I had to do paid acquisition, I had to do like PLG, like working very closely with product. And later on, like when I became marketing leader, I had a very good understanding of all these different areas. And first of all, it helped me to, enable the team members and help them to grow. But also when we had meetings, I really understood like, what they are talking about. Like I
Because you've
had
done it.
yeah, because I've done it, so I had the needed expertise and I was actually able to help them to grow as well, which would be very challenging for me if I would have never done like, one
Exactly.
of the areas that they were focusing on. But I think like the biggest difference is the responsibility for the people, right? Because as a marketer, you are responsible for marketing, you are responsible for the growth of the company and so on.
Yeah.
And here comes this additional aspect where you actually take the responsibility of like human beings as well
Yeah.
who are on your team. It's kind of almost like being a parent as well. And I often think about it, like I was talking with other heads of growth or like marketing leaders that, there is one thing that is missing, like when you are a leader, like why we do not get psychological training as well. Because in a way, you have to be a therapist as well, right? Like you need to learn how to deal
100%.
with, yeah, like with problems that people come with. Like we
Yes.
are humans, so we come to work, but we don't leave our problems at home. Like it's not
Yeah.
that easy to disconnect the two, right? So very often I had so many cases that, people are really struggling in their personal life as well. And these topics would come up during meetings. I had to like really learn, like how to listen, how to like, support them and so on. And what made it the most difficult for me in this role was basically the responsibility to take for their life as well. And when this whole round of layoffs came, it was
Yeah.
terrible for me, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm very bad with letting people go because I'm like too empathetic. So
Yeah.
I feel always bad for them. Like, oh, they have all this like issues in their personal life. And then on top, they're gonna be laid off. Like, so I always think like, what is gonna happen to them after this? So actually, like, I had to go at I think 2 or 3 different startups through the layoffs, like, letting people go. But every single time I tried to actually help my team members that were let go to find a new job.
Yeah.
So I would like, use my network to connect them with opportunities as well, or like, maybe guide them as well, help to train them, like what would be the best area for them to focus, like what are their strengths as well, so that they could thrive in the next job.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right about the fact that you have to be somewhat of a parent for a lot of the people that are working with you. Because you're right, the problems don't stay at home; they're going to creep into their work. Like, and when COVID started, or when people started getting sick, people were scared, and of course, the layoffs came later on. These are just challenging situations that a manager or a leader just has to tackle with. So fully empathize with you on that front. On the topic, and I know it's a great thing to talk about, like dig deeper into, but I want to probe a little bit more about building teams at multiple different companies. So when you join as a VP growth and inherit a team, what is the first thing you look at? What tells you this team is good versus we need to build, we need to restructure, or we need improvements here, there, and there?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I look at the data as well, right? Like, because often the things look good on the surface, and I want to understand as well, like, from the data standpoint. But then the second thing is I want to get to know the team as good as possible. So one of the things that I was always doing with every single team member was kind of like some sort of a personal development plan, or, like I had my own template for this. There were like some deep questions as well. I would ask them, like, where do they thrive? Like, what is the area, like, where they feel the best as well? Or like, what are their strengths? What are their areas of development? And usually people are pretty good with identifying it as well, where they are good and where they are not that good. And for me, it's like helpful as well to, learn it directly from them and understand where they are passionate, like what is their passion as well, and how I can help them grow. And this usually is like a good baseline as an indicator to understand, like, okay, is this person actually a good fit for this team? Or like, is this the good role or company even for them? Or maybe, they could try somewhere else as well. I had cases like that where basically I came in and it turned out that actually they were doing it, but they were not even passionate about it. And they had completely different strengths. And I even like, guided them and advised them, like, probably then maybe it would be better fit that you're going to go somewhere else where you could thrive and like really develop the areas that are important to you as well. So that's one thing, like, so talking directly to the team.
Yeah.
And then I will talk as well with like to the CEO or like, the other people who have been working with them as well, because that gives as well a pretty good understanding, like, how are they collaborating with others and how others perceive them and their strengths and maybe like the areas that they have to work on as well. Yeah, and that's like, the next steps as well gives me a better understanding. Okay, what are the gaps? Like, okay, here we have some people who are really good in this area, so they can continue growing in the specific area of marketing. But then we have a gap, let's say, and we don't have anyone covering this area of marketing, right? So we will probably need to hire for this because it does not seem that we can grow anyone existing on the team into this specific area. So yeah, that's kind of like my approach. I don't know if it explains.
No, of course. I mean, I think it's always a tough call, right? When you're coming into the team, because the buck stops with you as a leader and you have to make sure you're only as good as your team. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
This is a team sport. And if you have people, like you said, they're not passionate about the work, it's just going to come out. It will, based on their work. It's going to reflect bad on the leader. So I fully understand that a lot of the times, not maybe a lot, in some cases, people are actually appreciate the fact that, yeah, you're right, I'm burnt out, or this is not my thing, and it might be a better opportunity. So what you can do is just land them into a role that, like you said, help your colleagues get into good companies and use your network. I think it's a more humane approach.
Yeah, and it's also very important that you work well together as a team, right? So
Exactly.
it's super important that at the beginning, when you come as a new leader, you gain like some sort of a credibility and as well trust from the team. So that's why these one-on-one sessions with team members are very important for me at the beginning, because often like, you can maybe the previous leader was someone that they really liked working with, and they are not really happy that you joined and so on. So it will take some time for you to gain their trust. And if the team does not have trust, then they also not gonna work that well together, right? So it's a very crucial element for me as well that, we all understand each other as a team and can work together as a team. So often I also was trying to do something, that we would do like some integrating activities together at the beginning to get to know each other better, and as just like human beings as well, and what brings us more together, because then the whole team works better together as well.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about the companies. You've worked at PLG, product-led growth companies, Piktochart Group, and sales-led companies. How do you think about growth differently in those two motions?
So both are very different engines, right? Although I do know some companies that are kind of like PLG, but also have like
Hybrid.
our sales led, and it does happen. I think sometimes we also think about it like it's all either that or the other one, right? It cannot be both together, which is not the
Yeah, it's
case
not
as
true.
well. A lot of companies use both as well, but obviously they follow different growth playbooks as well. In PLG, the product is the salesperson, right? So you're gonna win customers by reducing the time to value to as close to zero as possible, optimizing activation, like some habit loops, creating viral or collaborative triggers, feeding the funnel of self-serve, low friction acquisition as well.
Mhm.
And in the sales led, it's completely different kind of, right? So basically in the PLG, your biggest levers are the product usage data, how you do the onboarding, maybe the pricing, packaging as well. And that's where I was focusing on as well in this PLG companies as well. Often like, pricing, packaging was very big thing as well. And, how we improve like the product usage as well. So it's working very closely with product management
Yeah.
team, and it's like very on the edge between marketing and product as well. And then in the sales led, the engine is the human, right? Like human is actually the person that sells. It's very important to hire the right people as well for this, who, know how to sell and are good at it, because you win by building not just demand, but also capturing the demand. You have to also prioritize the highest intent segments. You have to shorten the sales cycle, if possible, through education and trust. And then you have to make it very tight between paid content, your sales team, so your SDRs and AEs as well. And your biggest levers is that ICP clarity. So how well do you know your ICP as well? The life cycle operations and the deal velocity. So it's very different approaches, and you have to have a different understanding. What I think like one big mistakes that often like, a lot of, because PLG is very in, right? So everyone
It's the
wants
new, yeah, it's the new thing right now.
I often see that like, companies say like, yeah, we are PLG because we have a free trial and so on, right? But they don't think about it like, but is your product actually easy enough for someone to fully understand it and be able to get the most out of it? Like if you do the PLG motion,
Mhm.
because in some cases it's more about this, that, you are not there yet, right? Like
No.
you didn't like fully found the product market fit, or maybe your product is still too complicated.
Yeah.
And even if you want to do PLG, you cannot, like you're not ready to do it yet. And then you might need to start with sales led
Yeah.
as well. And I mean, like a very good example, like even user pilots, right? Like user pilot, they are all about PLG. They talk a lot about it and as a product, but in their case, also like when you sign up, you go through the demo process as well. Because, the product has so many different functionalities, like amazing functionalities, that you'll not be able to like fully understand and get the most out of the product if you would like, just go through the trial on your own as well.
100%.
Because it's just too complex, right? And if not every product is so simple and easy to get onboarded with on your own, So even if you would want to do PLG, sometimes it's just not possible to do.
You're teaching gospel here, because I think most of the VPs, senior people, even the C-level execs, what they get wrong is that if your product is not giving the aha moment within the first 10 minutes of someone signing up, you're very likely not a product. You're not a product-led motion. You need somebody to go out and explain. And if people start a trial and they flake out, very hard to bring them back. So this is your first impressions last. It's your opportunity to make sure you get that airtight.
Yeah.
Fully agree with everything you just said here. So you talk a lot about aligning teams around OKRs. Most companies say they use OKRs. I've heard this term over and over and over again, but they're really just KPIs with fancy names. What's the difference between good OKRs and bullshit OKRs?
Yeah, that's a good thing as well. So I actually almost at every startup that I worked at, I wanted to introduce OKRs because I really like working with OKRs. I saw the value of them at Google as well. And then often when I came, they said like, yeah, we tried it, but it didn't work. Right. And then I said, okay, but how did you do it? Like, why it didn't work? Like, I was really interested to understand it. And there are a few things that happen. Like, so very often companies fail to hit their goals. Also, like they would start with OKRs and, they try them for 1 quarter and then they just give up. But actually it's something that the whole company needs to be aligned around, and it takes trial and error to actually figure out how to make it work, right? So 1 quarter is not going to be enough, like, to actually fully understand how to make it work as well. And I think the most cases is just like, let's say the founder read about OKRs, like they read the book or something, and that they try to implement it. But it's very challenging if you have never worked with the framework. So what I often recommend is like, get a champion, someone who has been working successfully with OKRs in the past, and who is also like external maybe to the company, who will help you, get aligned with OKRs, set up the first objectives as well on the company level. And they are like also disconnected a bit from the company. So, they don't have any like emotional attachment as well. And that often helps. But usually they fail because they don't properly set their goals in the first place, or their goals weren't either very specific or they weren't measurable. And as a result, there's no way actually like for everyone at the company to know if they're on track, if they are doing a good job. So at the end of the day, they end up wasting time doing busy work or putting out fires instead of making collective progress on the company's most critical priorities, right?
Yeah.
And often the mistake that I see as well that the companies do is that, let's say the CEO read about OKRs and he says, we are now going to do the OKRs, guys, like please read about the OKRs. Everyone should set their OKRs, right? So they treat it as KPIs, the way you said it. Like basically everyone just sets up some KPIs for themselves, like what they're going to do, but they are disconnected, right? And the main advantage of the OKRs is that, first of all, it's the transparency, but also like how the OKRs align us as a company, like how we all work together towards achieving our biggest goal, right? So what is very important is not that like, you just tell like, hey guys, like just create your OKRs, and they're not linked with each other. But the OKRs should start actually at the executive level. So the leadership team, meets, they should collaborate and discuss what are the company's fundamental objectives. So it's kind of a maximum of 3 or 5 quarterly objectives that are determined on the executive level, right? If we gotta achieve this as a company, then we'll be successful. Yeah. And then once you have this like company-wide OKRs that you agreed on, then you can go and cascade them down, announce to the whole organization. And basically everyone knows like, okay, this is our North Star that we are aiming for. And now based on the company's North Star, each of the departments will plan their team OKRs. And then from the team OKRs, you go to the individual OKRs. Because basically what it does is like helps an individual. So let's say, I don't know, I'm responsible for a CEO in the company, so I'm part of the marketing team, right? Like this way, like actually like I'll be able to know how my OKRs on my level gonna impact the bigger objective on the company. right? And that's an important aspect that is often forgotten because they are not linked with each other. And that's the problem why actually OKRs don't work. They are just like, yeah, it's a fancy name, but at the end of the day, it's like KPIs, like some KPIs, often they are not measurable because that's also a very important aspect of OKRs that, you should not have, like when you describe, let's say, your key results, you should not describe activities, like I'm gonna be optimizing the website or something. It has to be measurable. So it has to be
Yeah.
deliverables. So there has to be a specific timeline. When is this gonna be finished? And what is gonna be delivered, right? Like in terms of impact or something that can be measured as well.
Yeah. Agata, this is a masterclass in setting OKRs. Frankly, I'm gonna cut this snippet out and put it on YouTube just as is, because I think you're absolutely right. KPIs get introduced at the very top. They don't trickle down to the teams, and teams are then a quarter later wondering, what are you talking about? Like this has nothing to do with what the reality is on the ground, so on and so forth. And people make so many different mistakes. I do want to ask for your advice. I know a lot of the founders, CEOs watch this, and one of the questions that persistently comes is that, is there something to watch out for or something to pay attention to when a company is moving from founder-led sales slash PLG to sales-led motion slash product-led? Is there something to look out for there, something people should watch out for?
So you mean so for example, the company was initially PLG and then would become sales-led? Or
If they're a PLG and they're doing mostly founder-led sales, demos are falling in onto the founders bucket, and now they need to get a dedicated salesperson because it's getting too much, a lot of the interest. Is there a particular game plan or a playbook for that, or just kind of like roll with it and let the person who's coming in take in charge?
I don't know if it's a playbook, right? I'm not an expert on this, but I do know from experience what makes it work. And I think I saw a few examples as well, like where the companies were really able to figure out like the sales-led approach from PLG. Like actually SimScale was a very good example because they started a bit like around community, right? Building. So it was PLG. And then they brought the sales in. And what I really admired about the CEO there, David Heine, was that, before he brought the sales team, he actually, as a CEO, he really went so deeply into sales, like understanding sales, right? So he himself started also like selling, sitting down with people, fully understanding how sales work. Like he read all these different books. So he started being really interested in the topic, like how you can nail it down. And I really admire this as well
Yeah, that's
because
rare.
you have to really understand as well, like what are the different departments at your company. And often that's something that, CEOs are very busy, right? So they say, I don't have time for it. I'll just hire someone who is going to be like a sales leader and this person should figure it out. But then you will never know if it's working properly or not because you don't have a full level of understanding.
Yeah.
And many CEOs, they are technical, like they have engineering background. So it's a bit harder for them to gain a full understanding of how sales work. And it's like there's a big human aspect as well, right? Some people are just very good in selling as well.
Sure.
And it's important to understand this aspect as well. So I think what I would say as an advice is to really like gain as much understanding about sales and what matters there. And like maybe put yourself in the shoes of a salesperson as well, because I think you have to yourself start selling as well. And that's when doing things like call recordings, analyzing the calls, listening to the calls and understanding what are the objectives that the customers have. It's super helpful because it has a big impact later on the product and all the other things, like how you can improve them. And also if you as a CEO as well join a call with potential customer, this gives like a very positive impression.
Oh yeah.
For potential clients, right? That like the CEO is actually taking the time to meet with us. And often I see as well, I get emails like this cold outreach and then it's sent from CEO. I actually always read those because I know it's automated.
It's automated, but still, damn.
You think like, oh, he who took the time. And often like this, like at the end, like if there's anything, feel free to reach out to me. And I sometimes even try to see like, okay, it's automated. I'm going to see if actually like a CEO will respond to it. And then I did get a response from CEO, and I think it then breaks the barrier because you feel like actually this company will care about me as a customer as well. So I think that's a very important aspect when going from this PLG, because it becomes from very like more like automated, maybe, when you don't have
Yeah.
that much interaction with the customer, to becoming very interactive with the customer.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult switch. I think that, you need to be ready to do this as well and become personal with people.
Yeah. I think it relates to what you do at Growth 52, which is you talked about agencies just handing it over to your junior person, whereas you're hands-on. So people know who they bought from and people interact with the person they bought from. So there's a certain level of trust that gets built on. You're absolutely right
Yeah.
about that. I want to talk about Growth 52 for just a minute. You've done hundreds of mentoring sessions and calls with CEOs, with marketers. What's the number one question everyone asks you?
It's evolved, right? Because at the beginning, like also when I was, I've been a mentor there since I think 3 years now. And at the beginning, I was still a VP of growth. So the questions then were very different, right? Like I was getting a lot of sessions around OKRs and leadership as well, like building teams. So many of the founders that would book the calls, they were asking me like, whom to hire first. So basically that's what you were asking as well. Like when you come and take over the team, like, how would you change it? So I had a lot of questions around this, basically, how to build the team, how to get started, which channels to start with. And then the questions evolved because when I started Grow 52 and, started being focused more on Google Ads, now I always get the same question, which is how to make Google Ads work for a niche business. So I get a lot of calls booked with basically a bit more niche businesses where maybe they don't have that search volume, or, they tried Google Ads on their own and then it's like not really working that well and so on. And I try to help them out and see as well, okay, what are the basic things that are not done well? The thing with Google Ads is that people often think, okay, it's so easy because, there is like AI and so on. Like I will be able to figure it out myself and it will work. But it's actually not that easy. Like this platform, it's complicated. I think Google eventually need to make it easier, but there are so many different aspects there, like in terms of like strategic as well and settings, and you need to know for which business, what campaigns to use, which settings to apply. In terms of like reporting, like the reporting part, tracking part is very technical as well. So it's actually not an easy tool or channel to use.
Is a huge learning curve. And I think people who have been using it for years are still learning because it evolves so much. That's the biggest problem.
I'm actually part of a PPC community as well. And I pay for the membership there, which is not that cheap. But I have to do it because I need to stay on top of the changes, because they essentially change things like every single month. So if you're even out of Google Ads for half a year, like so many things in the platform would change and update, that you need to be able to stay on top of it as well. That's why, like, there are businesses, there are communities, which all they do is like basically train you on the changes, like what is in the platform. And there is actually a need for this as well.
Yeah. Talking about Growth 52, you went from being a VP to starting your own agency. Why? Why made you decide to go agency instead of, say, taking another VP role?
Burnout. One word, burnout. No, I mentioned already that there was this whole wave of layoffs, and we all know it, right? Like after COVID. And actually was like a super difficult time of my life, because first of all, like there were all the layoffs happening, a lot of changes within companies. Marketing department is always the first to go because we are just generating costs, right? So it's harder to justify to keep marketing. So marketing always like at risk area. And then on top of that, like, my dad was really sick. So I was also dealing with that. I didn't know, like, should I be here? Should I be in Poland? I'm, with my dad as well. And I was struggling with it. So again, like what I was saying, that, a lot of people, they also have this personal baggage. And I had this too, right? Because I was worried about other things which were like personal. And then on top of this, all my team members had their own personal problems as well. And then I had to like let go of many of them. And it was challenging as well. And, I tried to push myself actually. And it happened to me at one startup that I changed the startup and then it looked like everything will be okay. And then it started happening there again. And, I was pushing, but because I don't like giving up, right? So I
Of
felt
course.
like, okay, I'm going to go for the next VP of growth. But then my body started giving me signals. I started having back problems. I started getting like migraines constantly. So actually, my body was giving me signals like it's too much, like you cannot do this anymore. And then I started listening to myself, and I said, okay, I cannot go on like that. It's too much. I need like a break. And actually, I always wanted to try this agency approach as well, but then I would start it. And then, then I would get an opportunity for another
Of
VP
course.
role. And then I was like, hey, I can still always do the agency later on. I'll just like take this opportunity or something. It's like such an interesting opportunity. And this time I had to make a promise to myself. And I said, like, even if it's going to be bad, like if I will not have any clients, I'm going to commit to 1 year. So basically, try it for 1 year. And then I had to stick to this, right? Then I said, like, I can still take some VP of crop role like after a year, but I need to stick to my year because I promised this to
Commitment.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is some sort of a commitment and it actually works, right? Because then
Yeah.
you don't like, give up too fast. And that was good because, at the beginning it was like I had to find as well my niche. And the beginning I was also like not just doing Google Ads, I was offering as well more like overall growth marketing consulting. Then I decided to specialize. I spoke as well with all the other agencies and freelancers to get their advice, the ones that have been doing it for years. That helped a lot as well, like, this exchange and networking. And actually within this year, like I found so many clients and it was working really well. And I saw that, like, I'm really passionate about it. I love building this business as well. I became part of communities for PPC marketers as well. And I also love this aspect of community, how we exchange with best practices. I had a lot of meetings with other people from the community who have agencies as well. And it was not like, competitive or anything. It was like really, let's exchange and like help each other as well. And I love this as well, that this is how it was. Like, we don't treat each other as competitors or anything. And I ended up staying in it. Like, I never actually missed it. I do get opportunities still.
Yeah.
I often have like headhunters reaching out to me. And I sometimes even go on a call, right? Because I
Why
said,
not?
okay, yeah, nothing to lose, right? But I think that for now, that means to stay because I enjoy it. I also love working with my clients, that there is a lot of diversity. All the products are very different. So I learn a lot myself every day, right? Because it's not just one company and one product, but it's different
more
ones as
exciting.
well.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Something you said about the body, and you have to listen to your body. I love this quote where I think somebody says, "Yeah, universe whispers before it screams, so it's better to listen to it while it's whispering, because if it
I
screams,
know.
yeah, right." So that's your body giving you small hints that, dude, you're on a wrong path. You need to course correct until you come to a full blown stop, and then that recovery takes a lot longer. So I think you made the right call. I want a couple more questions. Then we will dig into our rapid fire round. Most SaaS companies have a love-hate relationship with paid marketing. I've seen it time and time again. It works, but CAC keeps creeping up. How do you prevent CAC inflation over time?
Yeah, it's a good question as well, especially like with no paid ads as well, because the moment like, people start seeing that it works well and, okay, wow, we increased so much lead acquisition as well with Google Ads. Let's just like double our spend as well, right? So, and then we're going to get like double the number of leads for the same CAC. And that's like a difficult aspect, like at least, for example, in Google Ads, but I think it also applies in many different platforms. At the moment you start scaling too fast, you will see automatically that CAC is going up as well. Because often, like, first you start tapping into these cheaper leads and then you start going after the ones that are a bit more expensive. So it's something that is very important as well to understand that this can happen, right? That you cannot have both, like only cheap leads, but like, have unlimited volumes of them. So you have to find your sweet spot, right? Like how much
Exactly.
am I willing to pay? And it can be also done into some sort of segments, right? That, I don't know, let's say someone whom you can win over from a competitor, you're going to be willing to spend more on that lead. So have a higher CAC because you know that potentially, you know, the lifetime value might be bigger as well than someone who's like more like top of the funnel as well as a lead too. But this aspect of CAC is definitely a problem. And I know that that's why, like, you know, 1 month something is working, then the other one
Yeah.
is not. Obviously, like, heads of growth and CEOs always have to pay attention to this. So this is like the problem.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where to find the balance and what is your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, you know, it's also about the channels, right? Because you're gonna test different channels and you will see that, okay, some of the channels are just more expensive than the others. And if you cannot allow yourself to have a higher CAC, you will have to decide for the channels that are basically more cost effective for you as well. So it's finding also this, you know, balance between the channels as
Yeah.
well. Maybe you're gonna, like, you know, use multiple channels and like one of the channels is has a lower CAC, so it will lower down your blended CAC as a result.
Yeah.
And
Fair
I do
enough.
this a lot with my clients who use different channels. Like, you know, I collaborate as well with other freelancers or agencies that, for example, do meta ads or LinkedIn ads as well. We often work in collaboration, you know, that let's say one channel is required to have a lower CAC
Mm.
because we know that the second channel has a very high CAC. So then this way we can, like, you know, lower the blended CAC
Yeah.
as well. So it's kind of like a very collaborative across the channels.
That's fair enough. That's great advice. You know as well as I do that, you know, AI has taken over everything and people can just go ahead and build products. Literally, all you need is a prompt and an idea, and you can have a ready-made product within a few minutes. If you were starting today, a B2B SaaS company, what would your growth stack look like? What channels would you bet on? Because I think the biggest problem for founders right now is distribution. Everybody can build now. Sure, the product may not be good, but the fact is you still have to distribute it. You still have to get in front of the people. You still have to get customers. That's never going to change.
Yeah, that's very true. But kind of depends as well what type of product you building, right? So I do see that, for example, for B2C, like where you're selling directly to customers, there is really a big success with TikTok and Meta, so basically Instagram, because that's where people spend time online.
Right.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do, like, you know, ads, you have like this UGC ads, and people trust other people, right? So
Yes, 100%.
this type of ads are very successful. Recently I saw as well, like this analysis from a friend of mine, Azar, where he analyzed Temu ads. And
Oh,
Temu
really?
ads rely a lot on like user-generated content ads, right? Like they very quickly show you how you can like achieve something that looks like super expensive for very cheap as well. And they follow like a very similar concept as well, right? So it looks like it's someone just recommended it because they bought it, but I mean, probably they work with influencers as well, right?
I bet.
So it's
Yeah.
very different motion in B2C, I would say. In B2B, it's a bit more challenging. It also depends where your customers are, right? Like it really depends a lot on the industry you are operating in. I know marketers that have been working startups that are focused more around like security, you know, ensuring security of, let's say, AI tools. And the people who are in the security, they are not on LinkedIn, for example,
Yeah,
right?
fair enough.
They are also not using ads because they are using ad blockers as well.
Fair
So it's
enough.
very difficult to target this audience. So
Yeah.
you have to like be super creative with the channels, like start going offline as well, or maybe like engineering communities and be there. So there is not like one size fits all, right? It's really like understanding your audience. So I think one of the things that I will do first is to do a deep user research, right? So really talking like a lot of interviews, talking with as many potential ICPs as possible to really understand like how do they spend their time online? You know, what would
Yeah.
make them buy a solution like that? And start with this. And I think the problem with this aspect of vibe coding and that anyone can build a platform is that, you know, people are like, oh, I have this great idea, or like, I would love to have a product like this. I'm sure like everyone else would love to have a product like that. And then they just go ahead and create it. And then they are surprised that nobody wants to buy it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, that it's like so easy to build that you don't want to waste time to first do your due diligence and your research. And I think that's where you actually have to start before building something. Even if it's easy to build, you need to first understand it, if there is actually a market need for this as well, and then build it, right? Like, are there people who would potentially buy it as well? Because otherwise, like, even if it's maybe doesn't take that much time, you're still wasting your time.
100%. Just a very quick one before I get into rapid fire. You said something about offline. What do you think about the new startups that are getting VC money and they put billboards on Times Square, very snappy ones? Is that just a marketing stint, or it actually works?
I think it works because people talk about it, right? Like, any type of marketing is a good marketing if it's a bad marketing.
Fair enough.
So I think now a lot of people like want to shock, like they want you to talk
Exactly.
about it. And this is what happens, right? Like, often I see this on LinkedIn, especially, right? Like, people are like, okay, look at this, that's shocking, like replacing humans, especially like these AI tools. They had this shocking billboards where they said like, you don't need to hire humans. And that caused so much outrage. Like, everyone was talking about it on LinkedIn. So they actually achieved their goal. That's what they wanted, right? Like, they wanted
Notoriety.
to have, like, they didn't even have to do online because people brought it online. Actually, they did it offline, but everyone saw it. And I think the thing is that also after, we use a lot of the same thing, we become blind to it because we are so used to it. And often this is the case as well with online ads. We spend so much time online, right? That eventually we stop paying attention, or like we are getting used to so much to the ads that they don't work that well on us. So then you have to go and reinvent it and think about it, like, what would be different, right? And I hear about it that like people are doing billboards now, like people are sending letters or writing books about specific topics because it's different. That's something that makes you stand out. And I think as long as it's different, makes you stand out, and people start talking about it, it's a good marketing.
Fair enough. Yeah, this has been fascinating. Really, really illuminating for me. I learned a lot. I've made tons of notes here. I do want to get into a rapid fire round. Quick questions, quick answers. Best advice that you've ever received, business or personal?
Well, that's a challenging one. Listen, learn to listen. I think it was the best advice.
This, I think, rings
I'm still
true.
learning.
100%. Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to?
Or wish to have listened. I usually like don't ignore advice. I just like, follow. I'm like very spontaneous person. I don't really remember something that was like what brought a lot of regrets.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that's a good motto to live. What would you tell your younger self, say 7-10 years ago?
Try out different things, basically. So I think like when you're younger, it's hard to know exactly what you want to do, right? Or like what you got to be passionate about. So it's important to try out different things as well, and not to be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and try it out, because that's how you got to find your path, and that's how you grow as well, and see where you can be best at as well. So I think trying out, like, not being afraid of it, and like not sticking to one area because maybe like I'm really good in it, so I'm just gonna stay in it.
100%. I know you're not in Poland anymore, but did you have your favorite restaurant or a place that you would love to go and eat when you're in Poland?
Yes, I'm actually from the Trójmiasto, so the three
You
city
go, the
area.
best place.
Yeah, the best place in Poland. I'm actually like not that aligned with the new restaurants, like where to go, because it keeps changing. So I'm from this area of Sopot, so there is always like new restaurants coming up as
Did you
well.
try Pyroman?
No.
Okay, so that is my favorite restaurant in whole of Poland. Yeah. And I think it's in Gdynia, and they make the best steaks, like in whole of Poland, like by a mile. So highly recommend that. All right. One tool that you swear by and you can't live without.
That's a good one. Gmail. No, that's not a good tool. I'll come up with something else. So I mean, I right now could not imagine my life without ChatGPT.
Oh,
Actually, it's like,
it's so good though.
yeah, but it's so good. Like, it helps out with so many different things as well. But I specifically use it for the things that I was always struggling with, which is related to like legal stuff, or like
All right, right.
with yourself, like your life in a country, like let's say taxes and so on. So writing this official letters to the finance officer, things like that. I was like really, it was taking so much of my time in the past. And now actually like ChatGPT reduced it a lot because I really don't like this. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't like taxes, all these things that we need to do. It's not my favorite area. And now I'm glad that ChatGPT is there, because often, like, when I'm dragging something, like writing a letter to finance office, like I use ChatGPT to
Yeah.
advise me how to.
It's so powerful though. So you're absolutely right. That's what you got to use it for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
has been fascinating. Thank you so much for coming out of the show. Where can listeners find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, like primarily active there, or on my website, grow52.com.
Perfect. Is there a project that is upcoming, a talk or event that you're excited about?
Not right now. I think there will be more things coming up in the new year as well. Like now, like it's kind of towards the end of the year. So yeah, I will stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, this is like fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. This has been one hell of a power hour lesson. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. Folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.